everyone, welcome back to the South by Southwest Fanservice Live. I'm Gavin Stone, joined by
Chris-Rachael and
Martin Shore
of Take Me to the River. So let's tell our listeners just a little bit about 2 minutes, 2 sentences. What is Take Me to the River?
Take Me to the River is a journey to the roots of your music and American music. Some people think that music just popped over the radio one day, and it really...
Like me.
And it didn't.
He lives in a magical world where things just appear without
do.
any effort or energy or work on people's parts.
Okay, I gotcha. So it really goes to the place of origin, which is the Mississippi Delta and Memphis. And it takes you from the foundation, the leaders back in the Stax days. It was a musical utopia that was going on at that time that built the foundation that inspired and influenced the world's popular music as we know it today. So
my goodness, yes.
So we took legacy musicians that led back then, and they helped us lead again and rekindle that magic, and combined and collaborated with artists and stars of today, all from the Memphis and Mississippi Delta.
That sounds so phenomenal. Now, with those collaborations, were they collaborations of music from those two artists, or say would they get together and do an Elvis song?
Well, sometimes they were, half of them were completely originals, and others were remakes of older songs, but they were completely different. For example, we did William Bell's I Forgot to Be Your Lover, and Snoop did a rap to it.
I want to hear that. I actually really want to hear that.
Oh, it's amazing. And actually on that session, we had 3 generations. We had the Stax Music Academy kids, students that played in the session, along with a couple of the original Stax session musicians.
Now, for people that have never heard of Stax, can you tell them what that is?
Well, Stax was the largest independent record company in the 60s. It was the second largest black-owned business in the country.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
And it had, at its peak, almost 200 artists on its label. And along with a very rich musical community that was in Memphis, including American, Ardent, High, Royal. There was a lot of really great studios that were plowing out hits and building the foundation that everybody sort of leans on today. And so when rappers go to sample music, they don't usually sample things from Detroit. They sample things from the Stax catalog.
That's an interesting concept. And, you know, when you talked about the birthplace of music, I don't think music's the same today as it used to be, because we've got things like American Idol that make people overnight. We've got musicians who don't even write their own songs. They're just packaged products.
But, you know, we're here at South by Southwest right now. I hate to break it to people, there's a music festival going on after all of this that's got a lot of local bands, it's got a lot of local influences, and it seems like your movie would fit in really well with the spirit of that festival.
Absolutely, because one of the biggest themes that we cover is the mentorship. And it goes both ways. It's not just the legacy musicians and the legendary musicians teaching the younger musicians. It's the younger musicians teaching the older musicians as well. And the combining of the genres becomes one, because when you come to the source of music, you can seamlessly combine all types of music. And as my 85-year-old father said, I now will listen to rap because he got an appreciation of where it actually comes from.
I like that as a concept, the idea that if you can trace it through all the way through, that you'll be able to appreciate a genre of anything, not just music, but of literature, of films, or whatever that you might not have appreciated before.
Absolutely.
How did you trace it back to the Mississippi Delta? Like, how do we know it wasn't someplace in Oregon or in Canada?
Well, it's just going back musically. You can see the the gestation of it. And to me, when I go to Memphis, I'm not a native, but I'm a musician and have played and recorded and produced there for years. And Jim Dickinson was one of my mentors. When I am there, I feel the music coming up from the soil. And my own theory is that when the slaves came here, there was only one way they could communicate, because they were not allowed to talk. So what they did was they developed field songs, or hollers as they used to call them, and a lot of it was singing into the ground. So for years and years and years, they sang into the ground, and I think it stayed there. And I think that when you look for the ethereal spirit of music, it's bottled there. It's like Catholics going to the Vatican to touch the holy water.
And we also have things like Elvis, for example,
Yeah.
coming out of Memphis. And I think that for most people, at least I think of rock and roll kind of starting with Elvis and then moving from there. But he also had deep origins with exactly what you're talking about.
Definitely. I mean, you know, what people forget about Elvis is he was really a gospel country artist.
Very much so.
That developed into rock and roll and rockabilly that was also coming up right about the same time. But it was all happening in that one spot, from the field songs and the hollers to W.C. Handy to, you know, all the gospel that went into the churches. So it went from the field to the churches, and then all of a sudden people started singing about real life, and somebody sold their soul down on the crossroads or something like that, says the legend, and it became the blues. And after the blues became, you know, the combination of country and gospel and blues, in my opinion, and you started getting rock and roll and rockabilly and soul and funk and R&B and rap and hip hop and, you know.
So what you're saying is Marty McFly did not actually invent that in Back to the Future.
That's
That
right.
wasn't the birth point of, you know, how we got to where we were.
Right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
you said that there's actually an album that goes with this movie.
Yeah, there's
Tell us about that.
There's a standalone record as well as a soundtrack that also includes all the music cues from the film, because there's some catalog cues such as like Soul Man and Hold On I'm Coming, some of the standards. But the standalone record is all new music with the combinations that I was referring to earlier. Some of those sessions did not make the film, but they did make the record. So that's something to look forward to, as well as it stands alone as an amazing record by itself. There's 13 tracks, again, featuring like Bobby Blue Bland and Yo Gotti, Mavis Staples and the North Mississippi All-Stars, 8-Ball and MJG with the Bar-Kays.
Have you thought about doing, or are you planning on doing, a companion history volume? Because just the music history portion of this, I think that people would really love being able to dig into that. When you were looking at it going, why the Mississippi Delta? I think it'd be fantastic if you could look it up and go, here we go. Here are these steps.
Like a little one of those maps that kind of just spread out like a timeline.
Well, the film, when you see the film, you get the sense of history, and you get sort of the delineation. We don't live in any one place too long because I like to keep things moving and fun and spirited. But it is a movie that you can go back and see again and again. In some of the screenings that I have had, people just come the second time, the third time, the fourth time, because they get something different out of it every time. And there are people that do these historical retrospectives. Robert Gordon is a great one for some of that stuff. I tend to live in the feeling, and I do draw on real history and look at the mileposts that got us from one place to the next to the next. Martin Luther King assassination in Memphis was a big tectonic shift in what was going on. For example, segregation, discrimination, the civil rights movement, all these things affected the music. But in terms of where I live as an artist, I tend to live in the feeling as opposed to the linear fact. And sometimes that bothers people, you know, only the cinephiles. But everybody else likes it.
So what was your favorite unexpected collaboration? Out of everything, like, I didn't think that was going to work out so well.
You know, this is a cop-out probably, but just about every one.
Okay.
Because when we decided to say, well, let's see if we can put Bobby Blue Bland with a real hard rapper. Yo Gotti is not for the lighthearted, right? And, I mean, that was amazing. We did such a tender song, Ain't No Sunshine. And Yo Gotti's rap was just unbelievable. Gave the song complete new life while keeping that incredible feel. Bobby was 83 years old. He came in the front in a wheelchair, and Yo Gotti came in from the back, you know, with the Escalades and everything else.
So I hope you have a great time at South by Southwest. Really quick, where can people see this movie?
Well, it's at the Topfer. Is that the right
The
pronunciation?
Topher?
Yeah.
Topher, okay. Yeah. The Topher Theater at the Zach Performing Arts Center on Tuesday at 4:30. and again at the Paramount Theater, 11 o'clock on Saturday, followed by the live show in the park. And so
Nice.
we're doing a live show with all the combinations from the movie will be there, including Snoop.
Awesome. All right, so that's something to look forward to. I think we have a plan for next weekend
I
since we
think
don't have a
so.
live show. Good luck at South by Southwest. I look forward to hearing this music and watching this movie, and it's going to be a good time.
Thank you guys, and I'm a big fan of what y'all have been doing. And
Oh,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
It's nice to hear we have fans, right? Except for
Absolutely.
me, fan of myself. All right, have fun.